from lawyer Samson Ladianyenene.
There's actually a law in Ghana passed as far back as 1967, and as far as I know, that law has not been revoked, it has not been repealed. It is the Restriction on the Use of Military Uniform and Accoutrements Act. It prohibits, clear prohibition of anyone who is not a military officer or in the armed forces wearing their uniform. You are only allowed to wear it, may only be allowed to wear it if you are, say, an ex-serviceman, or it is that the president has approved that you should wear it. And often these will wear it for ceremonial purposes only. So you are not supposed to wear, you are not supposed to buy, you are not supposed to sell. If someone is selling, you are also not supposed to buy. If you do that, you are violating and breaching that law, and you could be punished for with a fine of not exceeding I think 250 penalty units. That's 3,000 Ghana cedis, or you could also go to jail for 1 year, or both. You will be fined and then you go to jail.
Well, let's get some perspective of a security analyst on this. Joining us is President and CEO of Institute of Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies, Dr. Ishmael Norman. Thank you so much for joining us here on Joy News Prime. Well, this is a concern. We've been hearing from the NDC questioning why the military or the police or security agencies are accusing these men of wearing a military uniform. They say it's something close to it. Then the question remains, how then do we identify that this is a no-go area, this is camouflage that we can just use, or is it that we should all steer clear of camouflage? You'd have to unmute, sir. We'll try and establish connection again to Dr. Ishmael Norman, and you get some clarity on this particular situation, because the NDC feels that these men are being just victimized on political grounds. But we've been hearing from the lawyers on what the law says about these camouflage. But let's see if we can reconnect to Dr. Ishmael Norman on this. What actually qualifies to be a military accoutrement? What we see in the background, for instance, if I wear that, does it mean that I'm wearing a military uniform? What can I do? To what extent can we go when it comes to that? But it appears that the connection to Dr. Ishmael Norman is not allowing for that conversation to happen. That's when we do get him, we'll speak to him on that. But let me take you to Parliament, because this issue is still raging, and more sponsors of the promotion of proper human and sexual values bill have confirmed alleged orchestration by the LGBTQ community to unseat them. I'll pause on that briefly and take you back to Dr. Ishmael Norman. Thank you so much once again for your time. Hopefully I have a better connection. So I was asking, at what point do I then identify that this is a military accoutrement or not, or should I just stay away from anything camouflage? You have to unmute, sir.
You can hear me?
Great. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I think the order sometimes is totally wrong. The Ghana Army does not have the copyright control over the military fatigue that people are wearing. The order is very, very clear. NLCD 177 says no one should be allowed to use military uniform unless they are permitted. Now, unless they sew the attire to the precise specification of the Ghana Army, the print itself is not owned by the Ghana Army. I speak not on behalf of GAPSI, even though I work there. I speak on the authority of the rule of law. In order for you to have copyright control by any design, you should own it. Ghana Army doesn't own it. If I buy it from the open market and I wear it, I make it into a suit, and you arrest me, that would be wrong. If I sew it into some kind of make-believe military uniform, that's a little bit too much, and it will be right for them to stop them from using it, but they shouldn't arrest them Because in order to sew to the specification of the Ghana Armed Forces uniform, you must know what the specifications are, which they recently published. So just because I'm wearing the print, you cannot just arrest me. For example, the Chinese, they have their own design. The Americans, they have their own copyrighted design. So if you use the Chinese military fatigue, you will be arrested. If you use the American one, but if I buy a design from the...
Oh dear. It appears we've just lost Dr. Ishmael Norman once again, but at least he made the point very clear on that particular situation that we are faced with currently. He's the president and CEO of Institute of Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies.